Sukihana is in the building. You look awesome.
Suki's always been very passionate about who she is, whether it's her sexuality, whether it's her race.
Colorism is one of the biggest obstacles that not just myself, but a lot of women in this industry go through.
So when you're going and pulling looks, are you listening to critiques and criticism? What kind of goes on in that room?
I love that question. I'm so glad you asked this question. To answer it, I'm going to give you a little tea. So get your cup out.
Hey everyone, welcome back to yet another episode of Acknowledged, a podcast where we shine light on the hidden heroes of pop culture history. For those new here, I've been a journalist and video producer in the entertainment and culture space for about 10 years now, and one of my favorite aspects of the culture is the fashion. So this week we're talking to Quentin Lamarr, who's been working with rapper Sukihana to create the looks the internet can't stop talking about. We're diving deep into how Suki's style has evolved, Quentin's journey into fashion, and what it means to be truly unapologetic. If you're down to hear from Quentin and you're down to hear from some of the other hidden heroes we plan on giving our flowers to, please make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. We're also now officially on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, so please click the links below and write us a good review, y'all. It really does help. It really, really does. With that being said, there's a lot to get into, so let's get into it. Just want to start off so we can get the introductions. Can you introduce yourself a little bit?
So I'm Quentin Lamarr, wardrobe stylist, image curator, image architect, all around creative. How I started professionally was when I was 20. I was turning 20 and I wanted to throw an all-white party. I went with this idea like, oh, how am I going to promote this party, right? So I was like, okay, I'm going to do a photo shoot and I'm going to have some of my closest friends in it so I can promote it. So I'm like, well, they need clothes. So I had them get their hair and makeup done. It was my cousin and one of my best friends. They got their hair and makeup done. And then I called one of my other cousins who owned a boutique at the time. And I was like, hey, cuz, do you have some clothes for me? Low key, what I was doing that whole time was pulling clothes, but I didn't know that thing because it wasn't really a word for it, on the streets.
Right.
In the industry, people would call it that, but, just doing it, you would know. So I called my cousin like, hey, do you have some white pieces? She had like dresses and all type of stuff. And I went and picked them up and put my friends in them and put my cousin in them. And we did this whole photo shoot and did this whole promo thing. And that was really kind of my intro into being a stylist and, curating photo shoots and images and all of that without even knowing. But that was the first time I actually really did it.
And with that experience, you throw on this birthday party, everyone looks fire, pulling clothes, getting all of that established. How did that get you in the door for working with celebrities?
I was in Milwaukee. I was born and raised in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So when I was coming up, we don't have a lot of traffic out there. We don't have a lot of, people coming out there to do much of anything. So I would come to Atlanta to visit all the time. And when I came to Atlanta the first time, one of my cousins, who's a photographer, her name is Leslie Andrews, she seen what I was doing on Facebook. So when I visited Atlanta for the first time, she was like, hey, come to my studio. I want to show you what I do and kind of bring you in my world. Went to the studio. The first time I went to the studio, Zaytoven.
Oh.
Zaytoven was there. Zaytoven was there, and he had a bunch of new artists that he was breaking in the studio, and she was shooting them for like promo pictures. And so I had just drove like 13 hours down from Milwaukee to Atlanta, and my cousin was like, oh, just jump right in. And I literally jumped right in and started. I still have pictures of it and everything. I literally jumped right in and started like styling and fixing and pulling right off the road. And so that was like my first encounter out of nowhere, like just doing it. I just happened to be right place, right time.
The right place at the right time. And for you to just like hop in there and just go, were you nervous at all? Were you like, did you just like have to block that out?
I'm always a little bit nervous, but because I just want to do a good job, you just want to, make the client happy, things like that. But it was more so adrenaline for me. I was just so excited to be doing my thing and like just be in my zone.
Fast forward a little bit, because I started, going through your page and seeing your portfolio and all of the styles that you did for Suki. And I just want to backtrack and dissect that. First of all, how did you guys get acquainted? Was it that day or was it a different time?
I ended up meeting Suki so she was looking for a stylist or a designer. And she had posted something on Instagram and people were tagging me. And I was like, I got on Instagram one day and I was like, what is it? And it was crazy though, because I was really manifesting, I really wanted to work with a rapper, like a rap girl. Because let's face it, the rap girls are killing the game. And they are like, they're giving us everything that we need. Like there are new pop stars, rock stars, you know what I mean? So I really, really wanted, like I manifested it. I was like, I need to work with one of these girls. Lo and behold, one day she's making a post on Instagram, people tagging me. She ended up choosing my cousin, another cousin. I have a lot of cousins, but for real. So one of my cousins is a designer. His name is Inkjet. And he was chosen, but he doesn't style. So he called me like, hey, you know who Suki is? I'm like, yeah, of course. And he was like, well, she hit me up, but I don't do styling. You can do styling, but I'll make her something. And so he was like, I'm going to get her up and let her know. So we get her up, let her know. She was like, okay, cool. Come to wherever. And I met up with her. We curated some looks for her. And again, she had that night and we've been working together ever since.
First of all, that's so incredible. Like that string of hookups. That's why it's so important to like know someone, but also like be that person to like bring that next person in. I think that's so important. And for that partnership with Suki, when you are in the process of pulling looks for her or collaborating on a look for her, if you could like personify her style, what would you call it? Like, what would it be?
So I don't know if you will remember this. You might, but back in the day, Jay-Z did like a tour documentary, and I think it was Damon Dash who said she's ghetto but got a runway quality about her.
She's ghetto, but she has a runway quality about it, and I think that can be personified.
And I think he was talking about the rapper Emil, if I'm not mistaken. I think, go look it up. I know the people will like correct me when they see it, but I think that was it. And so in my mind, I've always remembered that. And so her aesthetic is very much that. It's that ghetto superstar, like in the best way possible. You know what I mean? Like just somebody that's all the way 100,000% authentic, but we just take a little bit of glamour and we just merge the two and just create this fusion of that urban street, regular girl next door in the hood meets high level glamazon, baddie, all of those things kind of melting together. And there you have it.
I love that definition because, you know, when I'm doing my research and I'm looking at the conversations that people are having around Suki's aesthetic, it's so controversial, but also it pulls from history in a way because, you know, I'm something. Growing up, like I grew up in the Y2K era, like the little kid era. Like I saw Foxy Brown, like I saw these like rap girlies going to these traditional mainstream spaces, repping their cultures. Like I grew up in Rockaware, I grew up in Baby Fat, I grew up in this world, and now of course there's a lot of callbacks to Y2K. There's a lot of reflections and recycling of past things with new skins. Of course, that's what fashion is. But the dialogue is so dated. Like we're in 2024 and there's a lot of conversations. I know, like, I think it was a Hello Beautiful post on Instagram, and they were showcasing Suki at the Grammys. And she had that, you know, it was like the black and like the back was a corset. And I think her behind was showing a little bit in it.
Oh, the Grammys, the most recent Grammys.
Yes, the most recent Grammys. That was just one example of people saying like, oh, how could she wear this and that? I think there was a couple other, like there was the BET Awards. There was a couple other award shows where despite being at, like, you know, an award show, you have to like dress a certain way. Suki said, no, like this is who I am. And she's always been very like passionate about who she is, you know, whether it's her sexuality, whether it's her race, whether it's whoever she feels she is, she's always not afraid to say that. So when you're going and pulling looks, are you listening to critiques and criticism? What kind of goes on in that room?
I love that question. I'm so glad you asked this question. So I'm going to give you, to answer it, I'm going to give you a little tea. So get your cup out. So I'm going to give you a little behind the scenes tea of one major fashion moment that we had, how it came about, right? So when we did the Hip Hop Awards 2023, when we were doing a fitting and going through dresses, it was two dresses that we were deciding with. One thing that gets lost in the conversation, specifically Suki's red carpet, is how gorgeous the glam is. Because really, she shuts it down. She eats it up when it comes to her glam. And if you really got into her makeup, Akil kills it every time. Her hair, Armani kills it every time. And so we really, some people, that goes over people's head a lot. So I really wanted to get something that showcased her glam. The dresses were okay. But then this purple dress came out and she was just like, that's it. And I was like, well, that dress actually has, was worn twice on 2 different occasions. And she was like, I don't care. I love it. Let me try it on. And so, like we said, she knows what she wants. And when she's seen it, she wanted it. And nothing else mattered. And she put it on. It fit perfectly. No alterations needed. Okay. And then she felt good. Like she can move in it. She can walk in it. All of the important things, And so that was the biggest thing to me. A lot of people would look down upon wearing something that's been worn before, or it was a lot of chatter about, because I think it was the Shade Room and a couple other publications that did She Stole My Look type of vibes. And it was like a couple other people had worn it, gorgeous, all of them, of course. But that didn't matter to us, because with me and my clientele, it's all about the energy a person brings in the look. And that energy, when Suki hit that carpet, you could tell she just felt like a superstar. She looked amazing, she felt amazing, and she rocked it out. And she took that look and took that dress to new heights. And I always joke and say that she needs to get that dress and archive it and put it like in a museum or something, because the traffic that we were on USA Today behind that dress.
Yeah.
And it was just like, confidence. Confidence is the best thing you could wear. Confidence is the best thing you can wear. And so I think, to answer your question, when we're deciding what the look will be, of course, there's a goal, like to always show her in the best light and to always show a different side of her, but also what's going to make her feel good and confident and comfortable, because that's really what her brand is about. That's what her music is about, is women being confident and empowered in their own skin, in their own vibe, whatever that looks like for you.
That is so true. And when I think of Suki, that's exactly what I think of, because she's such a fashion risk taker. And of course, she has a team behind her that's helping her create these looks and craft these looks. And again, this is what the podcast is about. It's just like shining light on the people behind the scenes.
Yes.
So was there ever a moment where you guys pick something and you're like, maybe that wasn't it. Maybe we shouldn't have done that. Were there ever any fashion regrets?
Oh, that's a good question. You know what's crazy? I don't really think there's any fashion regrets, because when I'm thinking back on everything we've done, it's really just been hits. Like we really it's really, because let me say it like this. Every look has its moment, and every look has its time, and every one of those looks, there's a specific thing that was going on in one of our lives or all of our lives at that time that made that look happen. And so I don't really regret any look, because I feel like, especially around tour time, like around award season and tour time, we really just went out there and gave it the best that we could, and really did the best that we could every single time. And whatever made her feel great is what she went with. There have been times where, we'll try something and it's like, no, this ain't it. And then at the last minute, the magic happens and something else comes about. But as far as regretting anything that we've actually put out there, No, but I do regret, I do have regrets on moments that weren't bigger. I think that they should have been more popping. Like, because we've had some moments that have kind of just went way under the radar.
That
I'll go
no,
ahead.
I don't like cutting people off, but that was like the biggest thing that I wanted to ask next because
Yeah.
again, doing my research on you and your advocacy for, speaking about, from everything from mental health to like your personal journey, which I do want to get into. I'm gonna keep it real, and people might not like what I'm about to say.
Uh-oh.
Do you think that if Suki had a different complexion, she would be treated differently?
You gonna ask a dark skinned brother that?
Because a lot of her aesthetics are similar to another very, very popular Y2K artist who I love, by the way, absolutely love her. However, her fashion is also on the riskier side. Okay, I'm gonna just say it's Ice Spice. Ice Spice. I love her. I love her music. However, I do see that when she dresses risque to the point where like her whole behind could be out, people are cheering. But for some reason, when Suki does it, there's not the same energy. So when you are crafting looks, are you like, oh, like I really wish that this would have had this moment? Or do you have in the back of your head, like, if society were to view certain women or Black people in general a different way based on their complexion, like I know this would be a hit. Does that ever cross your mind at all?
We just work.
That's good.
We work and we just say, hey, we feel good in this, let's go out in it. And if it gets the reception, it gets the reception. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But we never like look back and be like, oh, if I was this or I was that, or if I did this, this would have been a hit. No, but we just keep on rolling.
That's good.
We hit them again and we hit them again and we hit them again. And so it's just like, we just keep it going. We don't ever sit back and just analyze it like that.
That's good.
But in hindsight, Suki has been very vocal about skin tone and colorism in the industry. She has talked about that, and I'm pretty sure you could find some of those lives and some of those tweets and things like that where she has been open about how it affects her. And that's something you would really have to ask her.
Yeah.
But because I really love her viewpoint on those questions, and I really want her to have her time to reflect on that.
As she should.
Yes. But for me, as a person behind the scenes,
right.
I do think in general that there are a lot of women of darker complexions that get looked over as far as being iconic.
Right.
As far as being iconic and doing iconic things. And I think that sometimes on the flip side, there are people who have it a little bit easier and that, they may instantly get viewed as, oh, that was iconic. That was everything. She's mother. She's over. But then some of the girls, on the other spectrum, they have a harder time breaking through and getting that recognition that they deserve. Because there are many young, talented women in the industry. Because I love working with women. There are many young, talented women that are icons, young icons, and they are really paving the way for a whole generation of people to come behind them. And people just don't know it yet. They don't understand what's happening. But you have your Flo Millis, you have your JT, you have your Dolce, you have Suki, you have many, many, many young icons that are, really killing the game right now. The boys should be afraid.
They should. That is very true.
The girls are killing it. But yes, I do think that, in my opinion, from a fashion standpoint, I would love to see some of my chocolate girls, really dominating those best dressed lists, really dominating those conversations on Twitter about who's the best as far as dressing and as far as looking fly and all those things. Because even like JT did a Beats promo not too long ago, a few months ago, and it was very avant-garde and very different. And
it was stunning. First of all, it was stunning.
It was stunning.
People were mad about it for some. Like,
yep.
What? Like, what do you want from her? Like, this is high fashion stuff.
Yeah. And she's really, you could tell she really loves the art of it, and she's really putting forth the effort to really give it to you. She's not just putting on anything. She's really trying, and she's really in for someone, like another thing. Those girls from the hood that kind of have come and been thrust into the spotlight, they don't have to take risks, but they are. And I feel like that should be commended. That should be appreciated and acknowledged because the girls are really taking risks.
I love that they're bringing environments to the mainstream and they're unapologetic with it. Like, yes. Another example I think of is Sexy Red. Like, yes. People can say whatever they want about Sexy Red, but what thing is she gonna do? She's gonna bring the visuals. Like, her last 2 music videos had like substance to them. Like, her aesthetic is like, you see it and you know it. In terms of like being in the fashion world, like when you are like, witnessing like how certain people are being treated and everything like that, does that encourage you or hinder you on wanting to move forward?
Oh, it fuels the fire because you gonna get this work one way or another. You know what I mean? Like, and I feel like this actually speaks to something I was looking at last night. I'm a big Beyonce fan. Huge. I have her tatted and everything. But she won an award last night, and she was talking about innovation and what it takes to be recognized as an innovator, and how many times you have to kind of fail and get up, try again, and how much you have to put in and practice and do it over and over and over until you finally break through. And that really is what speaks to me the most. Is, it never discourages me as far as me being a brown person, even me being LGBT and being a part of all these different communities. It never really discouraged me. It only made me feel like I am unique and I have something to prove and I have something to say and I have a voice that hasn't been heard. I have a perspective that hasn't been seen. I have ideas that haven't been realized or thought out. And so I'm just ready to put all of that out there. I'm just ready to get it out to the people because I know it's different and I know it's special. And if God gives you a vision and he gives you an idea, that means it can happen. Yeah. And that there's somebody out there that will resonate with that and that they need to see it. So I never really get thrown off track too much as far as the passion to do what I do. But I wouldn't be me and wouldn't be human if I said it was easy and that it doesn't get hard sometimes. Fashion, it has been gatekept for years and it's never what you know, but who you know. It's always been, hard for us to break through and to break down those walls. But as I said before, we do have icons and people in the industry who have bust the door open. I mean, look what Pharrell is doing. Look what Tyler, the Creator, is doing. And those are people on a massive scale. But if it trickles on down to so many others in the industry that I know, the Fiscanis of the world, she's the owner of the showroom that a lot of us stylists have gone to and rented from. That's what gives me the strength to keep going because I know there's somebody behind me that wants to do what I'm doing. And so it's just like, we got to keep it pushing. We got to help each other for the next and the next and the next.
You speak with such confidence now, like such confidence and like assurance in yourself and in your craft. What was your journey personally to get to that place of confidence?
Listen, journey is an understatement. Okay, because it definitely was one. It took a lot of effort. And also, I'll be 29 this summer. So the Leo Nation.
Leo, yes, Leos. Always Leo.
Yeah. But this August, I'll be 29, and I just feel like what has gotten me here now is just all of the things I went through. Like, sometimes you go through a lot of things and you wonder why. But then once you start to figure out that there's a plan for you and that nothing is by mistake, you start to take things on the chin a little bit more and you start to understand that all of this is just a test for the testimony. And so now opportunities like this will arise where I'm able to give my story. And so I have to be confident in it and I have to have overcome a lot of things. And so some of the things I've, overcome in my life, I think it was just me. First of all, I'm an only child.
Same.
So I had, growing up, I had to think for myself a lot. Being openly gay all my life, I was always who I am now. I was always the way I am now. I was always very creative and over the top and just me. And, people seen that. And when you're authentically yourself, they're scared of people sometimes. And so I was bullied and picked on, and got into many, many fights and all type of things. And I'm a small guy, but it's just like, I had to really, really build a wall and and sometimes it did deter me from my dreams. Sometimes it did make me feel really small. And, it took for me to move out of my hometown and go to Atlanta where I felt free. I remember when I first touched down in Atlanta, and I just seeing the rainbow crosswalk on 10th and Piedmont and just seeing people live authentically themselves and holding hands, and it just awakened something in me, and it just made me want to just everything in me that I could do or be. It made me want to be that times 10. It made me want to live that, and it's just I have nothing holding me back. Let me go for it. And of course, I still had trials and tribulations along the way. I've lost my father to murder when I was younger. I've lost stepfather to murder when I was younger. I've lost a lot of friends along the way. I've been betrayed. I've been hurt. I've been disappointed. But overall, I had a friend say to me recently, and it put this all in perspective. He told me, do you understand kind of why you've had a hard time in your life? Do you realize that you maybe had such a hard time because you were destined for greatness, and that you have something that everyone else needs, and this is the way to break through and share it? And it just made so much sense to me, and it was just okay, you're right. So why ball up and get in the ball and cry about it every night? Why continue to let yourself be beat down by life or by the powers that be, or by the industry, or by whatever? Sometimes we have to just stand up and take charge of our own circumstances and just be you know what? I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
I have no choice. I'm gonna be great. I'm gonna I'm gonna be fabulous. I'm gonna be loud. I'm gonna be happy. I'm gonna be funny. I'm gonna sing well. Whatever it is that you do, just you gotta come to it's like a fork in the road where it's either I'm gonna be all in or I ain't gonna do it at all. And I think the moment I chose to be all in and to sacrifice everything I loved and everything I knew to make this happen, I better be confident at this point. Because I sacrificed a lot to get here. So
that is the true Leo way. You just have to do it, and you have to be great, and they're just gonna have to deal with your greatness. Always.
All
right, y'all. That wraps up this week's episode of Acknowledged. If you haven't yet already, please consider subscribing to this channel and hitting that notification bell so you never miss an episode. Also, please remember to give flowers when flowers are due. See you next time.